if serving is below you, leadership is beyond you.
This I'm excited about. I've been wanting to talk to you for a while, dog. Yeah, since I met you, I was like, oh, and you're from Elgin? I need to talk to you.
Let's do it.
Let's see. Mic check, 1 2 1 2. Give me a check on the mic. Make sure we're good.
Mic check.
All right.
Mic check.
Salad, brother. How many PR press junkets have you done since you've been chief? Too many?
I can't keep it.
They want to talk to you, man. Do they want to talk to you, get to know you? They want to talk to you because everything going on.
Everything.
Because I feel like a lot's going on in Peoria, bro.
Oh, man, a lot's going on, for sure.
Let's see. Okay. Mic check, mic check. What's up? It's the all-new KZ1023, number one for throwbacks. Welcome into the podcast, the KZ Community Beat. I'm your host, Ross Martinez. In the hot seat this week, sitting down, getting to know him. I've known this man for a minute. We got a chance to finally talk. This is the Chief of Police, Eric Echevarria, right?
That's it. What's up?
Did I put the right Mexican little twist on the thing?
Echevarria.
Echevarria.
You know, you got to put a little Puerto Rican.
I got. Oh, see, that's a problem.
Yeah.
I'm from the wrong side of the border.
That's it.
Dude, so I've been wanting to talk to you because we're both outsiders to Peoria. We came in around the same time, right?
That's right.
Because you got to Peoria when?
Was it July of 21?
Oh, you got here.
Yeah.
I got here in 22, April 22. Yeah. Oh, so you got a year.
I've been here 2 years.
So what brought you down to Peoria? The gig?
The job. Quite frankly. I saw an opening. And, I get that question asked, and I said, let's clarify how that works. Once you get to a certain rank in policing, right, and you get to a command level, which means, right, first, second, third in command of a department, right, in that range, you're at a command staff, you're at a certain level, you're no longer part of well, I guess you could be part of a union, but you're typically not. You're a salaried employee now. You become members of, leadership organizations, right? The International Association of Chiefs of Police, the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police, PERF, the Police Executive Research Forum. Well, all those agencies, right, especially the IACP and PERF, do recruitment as well. So if an agency somewhere is looking to hire a chief of police or an assistant chief of police, oftentimes you're going to see it through there, and you get emails about that.
Oh, so it's like a portal.
Yeah, so so you're a member, and then you get to see, you get emails about, hey, this city's looking for a chief, this city's looking for a chief. So obviously, back 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we started to see a lot of chiefs leaving. There was the incidents of police brutality that you're seeing, incidents, the George Floyd, all these things all these other things that just kind of came together at a certain point. And then you start asking, like I started asking, well, why are these chiefs leaving? Yeah. Why are people leaving? I think this was a time that we should be working harder. And you see a position open, and so you do the research. You say, okay, this city A is looking for a chief. Now you go and Google that city and read about, you'll find something. Okay, sometimes I found information that the chief did something inappropriate. The chief wasn't in agreement with something, and there was conflict within the police department, or the council and the mayor and the chief, because of some of the narratives, and some were just retiring, and so it was just very interesting to read. And I said, well, it just some of them piqued your curiosity, and you would read about it. But when I saw Peoria, I had never had an intention of leaving Elgin. There was never an intention.
It's a nice town.
Yeah, I grew up in Elgin. I was the first Latino to make it through to the command staff.
Yo, for real? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so, I was probably going to be the next chief of police there. Truthfully, I think if I still wanted to be the next chief of police there, when the chief there retires, I probably have a great chance if I wanted to apply. There's been some conversations people have had with me to say, I don't have any interest. I love being in Peoria. I really do. I enjoy what we're doing. I don't enjoy the crime, right? I don't enjoy those things. But I enjoy the work we're doing, and I think the steps we have made to make things better. And what I don't want to do is, I put in all this work, because I will tell you, it's a lot of work. The chief's position isn't an 8 to 5, a 9 to 4 job. It's a 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The pressure is on you. Anything that happens in the city is on my shoulders. And I don't want to put in all this work and then now we got it to where we need to be and we're gaining momentum and now hand it off to somebody.
Yeah, it's like you molded everything. You got all the ingredients. Now you're like, all right, somebody else make the cake.
Nah, I'm not doing that.
Nah, you got too much pride for that, it seems like.
I'm not doing that. And so I enjoy where I'm at. I enjoy the people. I think the people in Peoria have been so nice. We're dealing with a small population that commits crime. A very small group that drives the real violence. But anyway, so I saw this opportunity. Elgin and Peoria are very similar.
Yeah.
Very similar
really
in a lot of ways. Elgin, what Peoria has now, this was Elgin 30 years ago, 25
So that's before the taco spots in Elgin?
So I looked at it and I said, man, just reading about it, I said, I think that's an opportunity that I should put in for.
It just, you just felt like it was the right move?
So I did it. I just felt like, man, I think I could bring something to Peoria that they haven't had. And that was my feeling. And I don't want to be religious or anything, but, Latinos, most Latinos that I know, there's a spiritual foundation somewhere, right? You're either Catholic or you're Christian and you grow up, in the Puerto Rican culture. When I see my father and I see my mother, I ask them for their blessings. I say, bendición. Mm-hmm. And they say, they give me their blessing, right? And so there's this, so we prayed about it as a family, and we figured this was an opportunity we put in, and if I was given a chance, we would take it. And here I am. And it's been a great opportunity. It's again, a lot of stress, a lot of work. Not just on me, but by my family. But
I mean, you're in high demand. Everybody wants to talk to you. There's a lot of problems, a lot of fires that got to be put out.
Yeah, sure.
It's just, you said you had something that you could bring to Peoria.
Yeah.
So how would you quantify that as, what were the skill sets? What was the, what did you bring in overall that you're like, look, this is who Eric is and this is what I can help?
I think it's who I am, first of all, right? I think I'm very different than most chiefs.
You're really down to earth, yo.
I just think, executives, you get into an executive position like this, it's a very high-profile position, right? What are the two most high-profile positions in the city?
Mayor and Chief of Police.
Chief of Police, right? And if you let that get to your head, and it could be problems. I've never been one to let a position just get to my head. I've always wanted to be authentic to myself. And that's what you see when you see me outside of work and you see me, you get the same person everywhere, right? I'm just a regular old guy who, when I'm off, if I could stay home all day and, cook something good to eat, watch some TV, that's me. And I think just the community, relations aspect of who I am and my experiences, I think that's one of the big things that I brought, the accessibility to the community and to not just the community, to the officers. When I showed up, I had officers at the police department that have been here for years who say they've never been in the chief's office. I'm like,
really?
Why? And so one of the first things I did early on was I had office hours. I said, I want to meet every officer. Come through. Let's chat, 15 minutes. Let me get to know you.
They took you up on it?
Yeah, and they'd sign up, and we'd come in, and I don't know if I've met every single one. I think I did. Christina Curry, my executive assistant, she handled the scheduling of all that. We would meet. Talk to me. Tell me. Give me the good, the bad. Give me what's going on here. What needs to change. I want to hear from them, but I also wanted to hear from the community. So as well, early on, I was out. Them first few months, constant meetings with neighborhood groups, neighbors, community, just wanting to hear what's going on. Give me the real information. What needs to change?
So who instilled that in you, or what did?
I think that's the culture that we had where I came from. Right? We started the resident officer program in Elgin, and I don't know if you know, and maybe a lot of people don't know. Peoria many years ago came to Elgin and said, "Hey, how do you create this resident officer program?" Guess who it was that taught Peoria, met with Peoria, the staff that they sent to talk about the resident officer program? Me.
Are you serious?
Unbeknownst to me that I would ever come here, right? But they remembered during the interview, I said, "Hey, that's the guy that showed us how to do this." So community engagement has always been very important for me. But I mean, the way I was brought up in policing.
That goes to show, just like, you can't just talk, you got to walk it.
Yeah.
So by you showing your skill set that early on, like, hey, I'm able to help educate this police program grow, they remember that.
Yeah.
And that goes to more vote of confidence, like, oh no, this dude can actually do the job.
Yeah, I hope so, right?
Well, I mean, you're here now.
Right? So, and I did. I heard comments like, one of the comments I heard was, "Man, that guy still got the same enthusiasm he had 15 years ago today," right?
Yeah, you haven't been burned out at all, huh?
I enjoy policing. I enjoy this job. I enjoy it. And what's funny is I didn't grow up saying I wanted to be the police. I wanted to be an architect.
That's very different, man.
Yes, I would love to have been an architect. I took the CAD classes in school and all the art classes, but I didn't go to college after. My parents didn't know about. Yeah, I was the firstborn, and my mom was 17 when she had me. There wasn't this conversation about, hey, go to college, and I just knew I had to do something, so I joined the Marine Corps because I saw my father. But there were specific roles in my house. My father worked; he brought the money in, right, and handled certain things in the house. My mom handled the home and the kids. Right, there was certain roles, and what I knew is I had to fill a role. I had to someday in my life. I was going to have a family and be the breadwinner. That's what you thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I get it nowadays,
It's different.
It's different. Both people work, and it's okay. But growing up, and I'm 18, I was like, man, I got to do something because I'm going to have to maintain a family one day. So I went to the Marine Corps. After the Marine Corps is when a couple of friends of mine, Enrique Santiago, who still works for the police department, he's a sergeant. I think he's getting ready to retire. And now Deputy Chief Schussler worked out at the gym next to a place that I worked, at Multi-Film Packaging, where my job after the Marine Corps. And they worked out at the Gold's Gym. And I would see Rick, because I knew Santiago. I knew him I knew his girlfriend, his then wife, I believe, when we were in high school. And I knew Rick. And I knew his brother-in-law. And he's like, hey, man, you should apply for the Elgin Police Department. And I was like, sure, why not? I did. And it was about 500-600 people who applied. I was number 4 on the list and off to the academy after all that. I didn't think I had a shot. And that's just how it all started. I did not dream I'm going to be a police officer, let alone that I'd be sitting in this position right now.
Yeah.
Right?
You thought you'd be building buildings.
I would have loved to have been able to design buildings, not build them.
Oh, design, yeah, architect.
Design. I wanted to be the designer.
I mean, but in a way, you're kind of designing a community in a way.
Yeah, I guess you could look at that.
You know what I mean? Like, you have so many different pieces you're trying to put together and make them work.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
for sure.
On your desk, how many different fires you got to put out a day?
There's a lot of different things. Because it's not just, right? Everybody thinks the chief is just the community. It's not. There's personnel issues, right? There's budgets. There's, programs that we're trying to implement. There's technology that we need to get in place. There's equipment that needs to be purchased and we need to have on a schedule to get in, right? Think of a squad car. There's cameras in squad cars. There's lights in squad cars. There's computers in squad cars. There's sirens in squad cars. And there's the squad car itself. And, we need to get new squad cars. We need to get new technology that needs to be put in it. And all that stuff changes, and it has to be updated. That's just one component. Now, take every department within the police department. The police department is the biggest department in the city. I have right now about 230 employees. It's the biggest department within the city.
Yeah.
So there's a lot, personnel. Whether we have to change some uniforms, what guns are they carrying, tasers, Axon body cameras, take computers in the PD. We're growing. We run out of space because you need to have certain things in place. And technology continues to change, and policies. What policies do we need to be looking at? What policies do we need to update? We've now, legislation has been signed that you can use drones, right?
Oh yeah, I did see that.
Right, so we have to make sure our policy reflects these things, and that the training is there. Right.
And you also have that on July 4th, I saw on the riverfront, there's a little robot that was walking around. Like, what's that?
So, Pringles Robotics. Pringles Robotics is right here in town. And
Pringles like the can? Pringles?
Name, but it's not Pringles.
Oh, I was like, no, they expanded, bro?
No. So, Sadir, CEO of Pringles, great guy. I approached him and said, hey, is there a partnership here? Like, how can I get a robot? It initially started with, hey, I want a robot that I can put inside the lobby. So when somebody comes in, they can file a report through the robot, big reading, like, frequently asked questions. I want to get a robot that I can take out to a recruitment event. And the robot can guide you. Pretend you got a robot in front of you, and the robot walks up to you and it says, let me show you your future. Follow me. Right? And it takes
as a recruitment?
Right, and it guides you to our table. You ever been to a recruitment event? There's tables all over the place. Well, I want people to bypass all those tables and come to the Peoria Police Department table. If they're following our robot, they'll probably be like, oh, okay, these young people, technology, the robotics. Hey, that's pretty cool. And so then we started to talk about, hey, how can I use a robot? Do you have an all-terrain robot that maybe we could use somehow that's got cameras and could maybe give out some commands or say something and some lights and that we can have in our parking decks, just roaming as a visual deterrent and capturing video if something does happen.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's how this all started. So we started with, let's try 4th of July. And a week or two prior, they were getting these robots ready, wrapping them, putting the GPS, coordinates inside of it because they were autonomous.
They really were?
Yeah.
Yo, that is only something I remember growing up seeing, like RoboCop. Like, I'd be like, man, imagine that happens one day, and now we're in that era where we have it. So how successful was it having that out there?
I think it was successful. We have to have a debrief to see what, those guys over there are the engineers that did all this, and, what data were they collecting? How well do they feel that it worked for them? Could we use this model just to roam through our parking decks in kind of our downtown area? Yeah. This is a visual deterrent. So we're going to continue that conversation with them.
I mean, parking deck structures definitely, I would think, just from, I live in the area here, and we've had a couple instances where there have been people in the parking structures or coming in, trying to rob people. I mean, having something like that, that would definitely add to, we don't have to have a human person there right now. This is a visual deterrent, as you said, and it does report, so it gives us time to come in quickly.
Yeah. And I think we have to use technology to our advantage. We want to be a smart city. Well, let's start using it. Let's start using this technology and see where it's not going to replace a person, right? Mm-hmm. But we also can't be everywhere. So something we're trying out. Let's see how it works. And it didn't cost us nothing. Pringles sponsored all of it.
That's cool, man.
Pringles Robotics, I should say.
So you're coming in. Have you ever used a robot before, or is this like first time?
Well, SWAT robots with the remotes and all that. Not a fully autonomous robot that can just roam around. No,
that's
this is
wild.
Completely different. So we wanna. That's the other thing that when you talk about what else do you bring, this mentality of, listen, I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. If I'm in a room and I'm the smartest person, we have a problem, honestly. You know, I want to be surrounded by smart people that have ideas, and let's listen. Not just to have ideas, but when people bring these ideas up, we have to be. Leadership has to be open to say, I think we can try. Let's try that. Let's try it out. We don't lose nothing with trying something new. We keep doing the same thing all the time and not getting the same result and getting the same results, right? It's insanity. Let's try new things. Let's think out of the box. Let's find new ways and creative ways to deal with the issues that are in front of us.
I mean, when you so far, right? We've gotten to know you as someone that strives to be very authentic. That's one of your driving forces, and then now open-minded. So, two big characteristics of who Eric is. Who's kind of been like the biggest role model in pushing you to discover this person of who you are becoming now?
Man, that's a great question.
Because you've changed. I mean, originally you wanted to be architect. Then you went to Marines. Now police department. Now chief of police. Now you're coming in with this mentality of, all right, here's my door policy. It is open.
Yeah.
Come talk to me. You're trying to establish that type of familiar bond within the station. And not only that, but within the community. So you're a community person. You're open.
Absolutely.
You're open-minded. You're trying to new ventures within technology, within the police department. And then on top of that, I heard a couple months ago you have an on-site psychiatrist, is it?
So, no, we're going to be hiring, right? So we push legislation on that as well. So we're working with Carl Health to hire a director for our social services unit that we're creating, and we're going to hire 8 licensed clinical social workers. So that's what's in the works now. But I put a full chaplain program in the police department. We have a peer support program that was not there. We have a full-time recruitment officers that we never had before. So it's just, we have to try new things.
So who made you this?
I don't know. I think it's just your experiences, right? I've had some great chiefs that I've worked for that have allowed me on my way up the ranks to just do things that maybe somebody else. Those were the examples I was getting. Years ago, we were in a recruitment meeting. And I remember Deputy Chief at the time, Bill Wolf, who is now the Chief of Schaumburg, we were talking about recruitment. And I'm sitting in the background. We had a college requirement in Elgin at the time. You had to have a 4-year college degree to get hired in Elgin. And I said, hey, from the back of the room, hey, DC, let's go to Puerto Rico and recruit. They speak English, and they all got college. Because if you go to Puerto Rico, everybody goes to school. You got at least a bachelor's degree there.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody's got school. And they speak English. It's part of the U.S. Next thing you knew, I was in Puerto Rico with a team recruiting. Univision followed me here and then interviewed me in Puerto Rico as well. It's a funny story because we get there, I get interviewed by Univision, and then we all go sit down in some restaurant in Puerto Rico in San Juan to go eat. And here we are watching TV, and here I am on the news in Puerto Rico, and I think they call it like the commandant. They're the person that runs all of the
Comandante or something like that?
Of the Puerto Rico police is talking about us that we're in Puerto Rico, coming to grab his people.
And it started from back in the classroom. Did you make that comment off just like, yo, let's just mess around? You didn't think it was going to be serious?
Well, I said it messing with him, but I said it serious. I said, let's go to Puerto Rico. Let's go. So
Puerto Ricans always want to go back to Puerto Rico.
Man,
my best friend's Puerto Rican. He always like, hey, you know how Puerto Rican's Puerto Rican?
Let's let somebody else pay for it. But I'll tell you what. He was like, man, that's a great idea. Again, thinking out of the box. These were, we would come up with ideas and we would move on them. When I was in Elgin, when we talk about co-response, we had a co-response unit over there, but we sent officers to, I think it was to England, and we sent them somewhere else, I can't remember, to go see how they deal with use of force over there, because it's alleged that they don't use guns over there, right? So
I've heard that a little.
Right? And so let's go out there, let's do the research. So we said, right now, Just to tell you, like, right now, I'm very proud that I worked at that department, and that's where I learned what I learned. They have an officer in Ireland right now on some internet crimes against children, just trying to see how they deal with that stuff over there. Right? So it's like, let's think out of the box. Let's not be so prideful that we can't learn from somebody else.
Yeah.
Right? And we can't expand ourselves. I mean, the best form of flattery is, right?
Imitation.
Look at that with imitation, right? So I think for us, it's like, let's try new things. And we did. And so that was, but I learned that through my career. We would try different things. And sometimes you succeed, sometimes you don't. Then you come back to the drawing board and say, okay, how do we make this work? Is it going to work? But we can't be scared to try new things out. We can't be scared to try something out.
And I love that, man, because for a community like Peoria, I've been here maybe a year and 3 months now. Two things I've noticed. One, they have a huge heart. This community has a very big heart. They just want to give. And once they accept you, that's it. And I've felt the love over the last like 4 or 5 months when I started getting accepted. Like, oh, this is cool. It's awesome. But at the same time, if it plays in Peoria, that's the saying.
Yeah.
So, like, you're here, you're trying new things. And we lightly touched on the legislation with OSF. Can you talk to me more about that? Because I feel like that is going to change a lot of things.
Yeah, so early on, I met with Jahan Gordon-Boot, our state rep, and I said to her, hey, we need to do something new here. We need to, first of all, we need to get some funding. We need to come up with a new model. Because you can't, we continue to ask the police to do things that the police shouldn't be necessarily doing. I mean, when we talk about mental and physical, the mental health, right, and behavioral health, is that really the police job, right? When something goes bad, because you sent the wrong, look, you could use, right now, if you gave me a screwdriver, I can probably get a nail in that door, right, in this room, right? I can probably get it. Gonna take me a little longer to hit it with the little handle. But I might be able to get it in. It might be bent. It might not fit in all the way, right?
Yeah.
But if I use the hammer and put the nail in, I get it done. I get it done right.
Or you bring in somebody that's a handyman.
Right.
And they know the gig.
So use that analogy to think about, well, let's use the right tools to get the job done here in the city, in the policing as well, right? Our officers aren't social workers, right? They're not mental and behavioral health specialists. If we can work alongside them and they can be part of the team, right? A lot of the issues that we run into, we see as a lot of mental and behavioral health, right? And it gets worse and worse as time goes on. Well, let's get the right tools in there. The officers go respond to a call and have to put a Band-Aid on it and move on to the next call. Well, we want somebody to go in there and not put a Band-Aid in, but man, sometimes you got to do some surgery. You got to fix the problem. Let it heal. And let's get those right tools in place. And I think for us is getting these licensed clinical social workers in place. We can now maybe go put the Band-Aid on, and then, hey, here we're gonna triage you here and get you over to the professionals. And the reason that I think we needed to have them working with us directly is, there's Peoria's very siloed, and I don't have time to cut through the red tape to get people the help that they need. I really have people that are dying. There's real issues that are happening in Peoria that we need to have a much quicker response. And if we're managing it, we can get a quicker response. And then, although we may respond and have a quicker response, we may still need to partner with our community partners, and we will, and kind of maybe there's a handoff to somebody else. But at least we know we have worked on the issue a little bit deeper, right? And get them the help that they need.
So what kind of on-site duties would they have when they're there to help out?
So I'll tell you this. They're going to be working out of the Wisconsin substation. Right now, it's a substation that we're really not using. We're going to rebrand that building. It's going to be our social services unit. We don't want it at the PD. We want it offsite. We want people comfortable to be able to go there. There'll be a director that oversees the 8 licensed clinical social workers. That director will not have to report. there's a chain of command in policing, right? It starts with the chief. Under the chief is the assistant chief. Under the assistant chief are the captains. Under the captains are the lieutenants. Under the lieutenants are the sergeants, and then the officers. So the assistant chief reports directly to me. This director is going to report directly to me. So we're cutting all the red tape out. They'll have their own budget to be able to, if we have a family in the middle of the night that we need to relocate, that we need to transport somewhere, that we need to get food to, that we need to get diapers or formula or something because of they're a victim of some crime, they'll be able to do that immediately. We'll have stuff, and we'll be able to purchase the things that we need to do immediately, whether that's in the morning, get to the store and go get it. We don't need to go wait and find an organization here in the city to say, hey, we need A, B, and C. We'll be able to handle that, from relocation to transportation to housing to all of that. Will be budgeted into our budget for that, which it is.
So that bolsters the image of you can confide in us more because we have more tools ready at the disposal just to help you out.
We're ready at the disposal, and then now if we need to pass you off to a organization that can help you
housing for extended amount of time, well,
we can still follow that. But the point of having these licensed clinical social workers separate, in essence, is one, we're hiring them to Carl Health. They'll have access to the medical side of things, but they'll also have access to the police side of things, so they can pull all the records that they need to really get the help for these community members that really need it. Again, we're not going to arrest our way out of the issues that we have in Peoria. No way. There's no, it's my job as the chief is to maintain a proper balance of engagement and enforcement, right? I think what we've seen in law enforcement and a lot of things is this imbalance, right? What happened in the past? I give this example. 9/11 happened. What happened after 9/11? Police could not do anything wrong, right?
Because it was USA hardcore.
Swung all the way one way is police, America's heroes, this and that. Which is, we appreciate that, right? But when you look at it from you can't just allow the police this full autonomy to do whatever they want, right? And I think that happened to a certain extent where, like, the pendulum swung one way, all the way, and they can do nothing wrong. But then we saw what happened, right? There was some serious issues that happened in law enforcement, and we can't be afraid to say that and admit that. That's the other thing about.
That's true.
We messed up. There was things that happened. Let's get to the root of it. Policing started how? Were we chasing slaves around? Right?
Oh, we're going old school with it.
Oh. What was the beginning of policing? Right?
Oh, to keep slaves in line?
So policing didn't start off.
Shit, I've actually never thought about that.
Think about the history. Right? There's a history there. Right? Now, we want to get away from that. We have gotten away from that, but there's scars. There's things that are out there, right?
Psychological scars.
This wasn't that long ago. So now it started off wrong. But then we can't continue to make the same mistakes. We can't be unbalanced. So then now you slide the pendulum the other way. What happened? Defund the police. Now the pendulum swung the whole other way.
This is true.
Right? So then when it swings that way, we're still unbalanced, right? You can't... now it's defund. Nobody can really say what defund... There was no definition for that. What was the definition of that? Right? You're not going to get rid of the police.
It would be anarchy.
While there's crime and there's things that are happening, you're not getting rid of us.
No.
It's just not going to happen. Do I understand what they're trying to say? Is move money into other areas, right? Mental health, behavioral health.
Education.
I understand that. You're not getting rid of the police, right? So you can't swing that pendulum all the other way. Now, if you can get that pendulum right in the middle and there's a balance of this engagement and enforcement, well, now we're balanced. We talk about balance in your finances. We talk about balance in work life. We talk about balance in your diet. It's everything. We talk about everything. If you have it balanced, you're good.
Mm.
Well, we need to maintain that balance. And that's what I tell my commander. We need to maintain a balance So we'll continue to do our walk and talks and talk to people and make sure they're getting the information they need, and that we're opening those doors of communication between us and the community, that we're being transparent. But that doesn't mean we're not going to go and make the arrest. I say it all the time. If you want to commit crime in the city, don't do it. Get out of the city or go to jail. So I've said that over and over again. But that doesn't mean that's the only focus. We have to focus on our kids. We have to focus on our elderly. We have to focus on our young adults. We have to have services out there. We have to have programs. We have our Safe Summer events that we've been doing. We have our walk and talks that we've been doing. We do our we're in the middle of, I talked to you about this car show that we want to do at the police department. But that doesn't mean we're not enforcing what we need to enforce. I have a special investigative division there that every day gets guns off the street. We have a criminal investigative division that's every day closing up cases. We have a patrol unit that every day goes out there and handles all these 911 calls. And it's, you know, we have an NSU unit, our neighborhood services unit, that you see out on bikes, that they live and work in the neighborhoods, in some of the most distressed neighborhoods of our city. We have a task force that we created that now works from 9 to 5, 9 p.m. to 5, or 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. Tuesdays through Saturday. And on Friday and Saturdays, their sole job is to be in the downtown. If you're doing anything that you should not be doing in that downtown, they're going to be there to handle that. And what have you seen? We got the light towers out there. We have a strong presence out there. We've made numerous arrests. We've taken guns off the street. We're going to work on. We're not going to tolerate crime in our city. And the crime that we do have comes again from a small percentage of our community. And we're going to work on them. And if they're listening to this podcast, know we're on to you, and we'll take you to jail if you want to continue to commit crime. These juveniles that continue to, we have met with JDC, we've met with the state's attorney, we've created a task force, if you will, and we have our next meeting coming up to really create the roadmap of how we're going to work on it's a small percentage again, a small group of probably 39, 45 juvenile that are our main offenders. Well, how do we deal with that?
Yeah.
These are habitual offenders, right? So we're not soft on crime for the police department, but just because we do our other community engagement, people shouldn't look at it and say, oh, they're soft. No, we're not. No, we're not. But you have to have a proper balance of all of this.
So it's like finding the sweet spot of reactionary and proactiveness.
Absolutely.
So like your policing is reactionary because there's no way you can.
Right.
It's like, what was that one movie by Tom Cruise where they would have the crime come out beforehand, then go arrest the guy, the precog and all that stuff. So we don't have that.
No.
You don't know what crime's going to happen on a day-to-day, minute-to-minute basis. Like you just said, like, oh, who knows what's going to happen? Yeah. But you have to be well prepared. You got to have the right tech. You got to have the right people to help manage what happens in that situation. But at the same time, you have to be so community that you're showing people, hey, you don't have to fight us. It's not us against you against us.
You have to have relationships with the community, right? This isn't about black, white, Hispanic. No. Everybody wants to feel safe. Everybody wants to feel safe. People in the most distressed areas of our city want to feel safe.
Yeah.
Right? So we have to have relationships because we need people to talk to us. We need to have people that trust the police. We can't affect change without trust and transparency. We can't. We have to build that trust. Or otherwise, police are people policing people.
Yeah. People of your own community.
Think about that. How difficult is that? Right? How difficult, when people start, they want to criticize sometimes, but, I ask them, look into your own family. When your kids become teenagers, how hard is it to control some of their behavior? If you've raised them, they've been in your life since they were born, right? You've given them everything you can to raise them, and you've done your best job. And teenagers just don't want to listen. And I'm not saying they're doing anything horribly bad. Use that as an example of they always think they know everything, right?
We went through it.
So we went through it. So think of how difficult that is. Now think about how difficult it is to take a group of 200 officers, put them in a city of 100,000 plus, and say, go out here and police people and tell them what to do or not to do. You can't drive that fast. You can't do this. Well, you just did this, right? And then there's just...
And some people are rebels.
Easy as it sounds,
some people are just rebels.
As easy as it sounds.
Some people are middle kids. They're going to fight it. I'm what? You tell me no, I'm going to find a way to do it.
So we have to continue to build trust and relationships in our community.
I mean, I love every bit of that. But it feels like, how hard is it to implement that? Are you finding it just slowly, poco a poco, you're kind of getting it through, or are you seeing a lot of fight back?
No, I actually seen, people I think are embracing that. We're not getting complaints.
God.
We're not getting complaints from the community.
The transparency.
Yeah, we there's probably more complaints internally, which means we're policing ourselves more than there are complaints externally.
It was a funny moment. So when I stopped by the station the other day and we were talking, you had come out, you met me, there's somebody in the lobby, and like, oh, they got me again. And the person, whoever it was just laughing whatever ticket he got. He's like, I got it, no problem. Have a good one, Chief. But like, seeing that interaction, I come from Chicago, I step in the police station, I don't see that type of normal, like, they got me again, Chief.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Yeah. And I think, when you treat people fair,
mm-hmm.
and I tell the officers all the time, you'll never be in my office for a bad reason if you treat people the way you want your family to be treated. We don't have to, people know, listen, we have to expect that you catch somebody doing something they shouldn't be doing, they're going to try to want to get out of it, right?
Of course.
They don't want to get out of it. We understand it. By nature, people, how do I get myself out of this, right? Some people are more aggressive with it. Some people are just, hey, try to talk to it. But if we treat people with respect and dignity at all times, we are the professionals. We're the police officers. We're the professionals. We have to hold ourselves to a higher standard. People realize that. They understand that, man, yeah, I messed up. I got in trouble. I tried to get myself out of it. But at the end of the day, they know they messed up. They know.
Of course.
They know. You can't hide it from yourself. You know. So our job is to continue to maintain that professionalism. We are people, though. We are people.
Mistakes will happen.
Mistakes will happen. People get on our nerves. People anger us. People will frustrate us. But
how do you tell them to maintain the composure?
And it's hard sometimes. I tell the young officers to come in, specifically our officers of color that get hired. I say, hey, you're going to, you are now getting hired to be on the big show. Front row seat to the big show. Unfortunately, what you're going to hear, though, from people that look like you, they're going to call you derogatory names, racist names. They're going to say things to you. Listen, I'm Puerto Rican. I'm Afro-Latino. My mom's side of the family is black. My dad's side of the family is more than European. And, when you come to a family reunion at my house, it's all colors of the spectrum. Mm-hmm. We're all Puerto Rican, but it's all my grandfather is a black man. May he rest in peace. I've heard comments, when people are ignorant, Latino, when you deal with ignorant people in this world, all Latinos were illegal.
Yeah.
Right? You know how many times I've
Puerto
heard,
Rican.
Yeah. You know how many times I've heard somebody tell me I should be mowing their lawn? How many times have I heard somebody tell me, man, you speak good English?
That's wild. I hate that.
What am I so? Yes,
Don't it piss you off when you hear that?
Well, those are those microaggressions. Why? I was just in the gym with an officer yesterday, and he has a very strong country accent. A white officer, very strong accent, country boy.
Mm.
And I said, has anybody ever asked you? He speaks English, and has anybody ever said you speak? Yes. Nobody's ever said anything about.
Like, you speak good diction for that tongue, boy.
I speak. I'm sure I have an accent. I can't tell. I grew up in speaking English, although my first language is Spanish. I speak better English than I speak Spanish.
Same.
So I do speak good Spanish. My mom finally told me, she's seen me on the news enough when I was back in. She said,
"Oh,
hey,
that
this
me
Spanish."
cool.
I used to deal with the Spanish media there. She says, "Man, your Spanish has gotten great." I practiced. I worked on my craft, and so I want to make sure that what I say is right. But those microaggressions. Oh, you speak good English, or it's just things that you learn to deal with.
But
right? So I told these officers, I said, listen, you're going to hear these things. It's okay to get mad. It's okay for you to feel emotions of it. Just don't show it. Just don't let them know, because then they'll continue to feed off of that. That's what I tell them, and that's just based on my experience. Right? The last person that I stopped many years ago, that told me I should have been mowing their lawn, got a fist load of tickets.
That's how you got him back.
Yeah, they got a couple extra tickets.
Keep talking, mother. Keep talking.
Listen. And I was a young officer, and I said, okay, anything I could write this person on. Who knows what happened with the half
They
those
broke
tickets.
the law.
But you know what? You found everything. And that's just me being honest. That's what I just tell officers. I said, it's been a long career, and there's been so many things that I've heard and things that people have said that are inappropriate that you say, but I just don't let yourself feel victimized, and don't walk around like a victim.
Well, this is you how many years into the career?
1999.
So 99. Oh, damn. So 99 till now. As you got into being a police officer and you started moving up the ranks, you're dealing with racism. But you, the person, Eric, you're hated from both sides sometimes. You're hated from the people that call you mi hermano, my brother, whatever. And then people hate you for being a cop. How did you navigate that island for many years?
Man,
especially throughout like the George Floyd era and everything.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Sandra, was it Sandra Bland? I think it was.
That's tough times because, think about our African American officers during that time.
Yeah,
that are, they're getting it from both sides. That's a very, very difficult time, and nobody really thinks about that. I'm glad you brought that up because you deal with that. You deal with, okay, you got. For me, I didn't get it so much from anybody in my family because I'd been in policing long enough. But you get these young officers who are now here, and then all of a sudden this happened, and family is mad at them. And then you got people in the community is looking at them. It's a very difficult time. You have to continue to talk to these young officers and say, hey, listen, you know why you joined the police department. I remind officers every time they come into my office before I swear them in. I said, on your graduation day, I'm going to come see you, and I'm going to have a conversation with you. On graduation day, when they, as soon as they get off that stage and I meet with them, I tell them they get a certificate that they give them there prior to getting their state license. They get this certificate. I said, I need you to take that certificate, and on the back of that certificate, I want you to write down why you chose this profession. Why you chose this profession. I think it's like any other governmental presenting, even politics, is, you come in with these great intentions. I want to save the world. I want to make a change. I want to change the narrative. I want to make my community safer. Well, write it down, because you're going to need to look back at that, whether it's a year from now, whether it's 5 years from now, whether it's 15, 20 years from now.
15 minutes from now.
You may need to want to look back to just remind yourself why you chose this honorable profession. One of the things that I try to stay off of social media because the keyboard warriors that sit behind these keyboards that have all this stuff to say, but yet don't have the guts to stand up, put this uniform on, and go help change it. Same thing. I'm very proud of my time in the Marine Corps. Very proud of the time that I did. And I served my country, and I continue to serve my country being I served. I was one of the brave to say, man, I'll put that uniform on. I'll go fight for this country if I need to.
Marine, right?
Right.
That's Marine boot camp. That's not a walk in the park, bro.
And so then, I continue to do that, but you have these people who will sit back and criticize, but then don't have no answer. It's easy for them to just, criticize our police officers and say, oh, why didn't they do it this way? Well, come on. I'm hiring. Put that uniform on. Get from behind this It's easy to talk behind a keyboard and nobody knows who you are. It's easy to go make those comments. But come on. Be like the other 200 officers that are here at this police department who every day come on, put that uniform on, and sacrifice themselves to be out here. Because I will tell you, the sacrifices that our officers make, they miss birthdays, they miss anniversaries, they miss very important events so you can sleep at night.
And the emotional toil, too, it takes on you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, you see some of the worst of our community some days.
Because it ain't for the money. Nobody's getting rich being a police officer,
No.
right? Let's call it what it is.
It is.
We do it because we have a passion for serving.
I mean, I think people fail to realize on any given day, you can see the worst our community has.
Yeah.
And you have to process that, and you have to carry that trauma on. And that's a lot, man.
It is. It is a lot. And that's why I say, sometimes officers are going to make mistakes. And I always try to explain it this way. You come into work already with at a certain level, right? And maybe your kid's sick at home. Maybe you got into an argument with your spouse, because believe it or not, we're married, and just like anybody else, we have turmoil sometimes at home, right? Or with your kids. So you come into work. Now you go on that first hot call. You go, your adrenaline gets to pumping, your heart rate starts going up. You get to a certain level, so you get somebody wants to fight and argue and spit on the police. It happens. You finish that call, and your heart rate and everything starts to come back down. Then you get another call, goes back up. And this continues to happen through this 8 hours, 10 hours of this. You never make it back down to where you even started, right? And I tell people, we're people. We sometimes we could have a moment, right? We can't always afford to have a moment. Like, one thing is we say something, one thing is we do something. Mm-hmm. And so, that's why we internally want to make sure we have peer support. We have a gym inside the police department. I tell our officers, you get a break, go use the gym. We have a room where we have a couple of recliners. And listen, if you got to go in there and take a 10, 15-minute breather, whatever. Go in there, do what you need to do. Get yourself right? Take the time off that you need to take off. We want to support them, and we want to do that. And we have a lot of people in this community to come constantly to show support and love to our officers. So thank you if you get to hear this podcast. Thank you for understanding the work and the sacrifices that this Peoria Police Department and the officers do for you every day. But we need the police, and we police ourselves within the agency.
All right. Let me ask you one last question.
Yeah,
here.
go ahead.
Oh, two. One's business and one's personal. Business, for anybody that would like to get involved or go through the recruitment process of becoming a police officer here in Peoria, where should they go?
Go to our Facebook page. All the information is there. You can come down to the police department. We have Sergeant Amy Dotson and Officer Chris Collins, who are both our recruitment sergeant and officer. This is what they do full time. You come in anywhere between 8 and 4, 9 and 5. You'll find them in and around the PD or somewhere. We'll be able to connect you with them. They can get you all the information you need. Right now, we're looking for another 22 officers. So we're constantly hiring. So please come on down. Go on our Facebook. Follow us. If you're not following us on social media, we put out a ton of information on our Facebook page. Please follow us there.
All right. So in this hour-long conversation that we had,
hasn't been that long.
It's been about an hour,
okay.
Man. That's what happens when you get in. This is what I love about the art of dialogue and communication. You really get to know somebody. You get to know what makes them work. Like before this, I knew you were a fun-loving guy, that you were cool, very family-oriented, just off conversation. But in the hour, I think I've got to know you to be extremely authentic, someone that strives to push the boundaries and be open-minded, but also very caring, especially about not only the city, but the people that you work with, and just understand the fact that they have a lot going on. So you try to provide them with as many tools as possible to get the job done, but also still remain sane through everything.
Yeah.
So when your story's done, right? This is a book. We're reading your story, right? What's the gold nugget of wisdom you want people to take away of who Eric is, the individual?
You know, I think I use this phrase all the time. I believe I have it on my signature on my emails. If serving is below you, leadership is beyond you. Right? So I want people to know that. I want people to always be able to look and say, man, you know, that guy, that Eric, man, he was true to himself. He was authentic. He was, you know, what you saw is what you got. I want people to know that I really do care, and I do lose sleep about the things that happen in this city, and that he was willing to come here, and that he was willing to really put in the work to make the change. That I hope the book can say the change happened, right? Man, we saw change happen. We saw these things. And I want to leave the agency in better condition than I received it. And the city.
I like that.
That's it. And then, you know, I want my family to be proud. I want my family to be proud and say, wow, you know what? All the sacrifices, all the things that he did for us as a family and for this community, we see it. We see it. You know, I don't think you ever get past an age where you want your parents to be proud of you. You want your kids to be proud of you. You want right?
I called my mom last night, like, hey, I just did this. What you think? She's like, oh, I'm proud of you. I'm like, all right, thank you.
You know, and so yeah, I think it's important. Yeah, I want people to know, man, that's who he is. Now, there might be some things you don't like about that. That's okay, right? But Eric isn't a phony. This guy's, that's what you get is what you get. Sometimes, you know, I tell people, my wife tells me all the time, you're too honest. That probably doesn't work all the time at home, right? I probably...
A white lie?
Yeah, I might have to learn how to do
baby,
that.
You look beautiful today.
Right. My wife always looks beautiful. I never lie about that.
I like
that. She always looks beautiful.
And that's how you stay happy, bro.
Yeah, my wife always looks beautiful. But, you know, I'm a very honest person, but I want people to... I can take the same back. Let's have a dialogue. Tell me the truth. No need to sugarcoat with me. I'm not going to get offended.
Because I always ask everybody before the interviews, before the podcast, is there anything off limits? You're like, nah, I'm open book. I'm like, oh, all right, let's go then. Let's talk.
Yeah, I am an open book. And I'm a very honest person. And that's what I want people to be able to look. And they be able to say is, man, he came and he worked hard. He worked hard. He cared about this community and cares about the community. And he truly wanted to see change happen. And I do.
With that said, it's been another episode of the KZ Community Beat. I'm your host, Ross Martinez. My amazing guest this week, the Chief of Police here in Peoria, Eric Echevarria. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Go back, check out all the other episodes. If not, I'll put RoboCop on you. All right. You be safe. We're out. Peace.